Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, continuing our build of the Estes Loadstar II. The booster stage at this point is now done. Everything is ready to go with this, so it's just going out of the way, I guess, for the time being. The next thing we need to do is start attaching the fins to the second stage. So here are the fins. And actually, you know what? Honestly, before we do that, we have one little bit of easy work to do, and that is build the standoffs for the launch lug. So here's the launch lug. I'm doing this slightly out of order. And, ooh, boy, that really needs to be sanded. The end of this launch lug here got a little chewed up. Not sure how or why. Definitely don't want that. So I'm just going to sand that quickly. All right, that's better, I guess. All right, so there's our launch lug. We need to cut this into two even pieces, and those pieces are then going to get mounted on each of those little bits of balsa that we cut out before. That I'm actually going to get out of the way. Don't need it for the time being. Now, you could, of course, measure this, but honestly, I mean, you can eyeball it. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference. I end up using scissors to cut this rather than the hobby knife that the instructions recommend. Do I have a good reason for that? Not particularly. I just find this goes easier. It's faster. I tend to get a cleaner cut too. The scissors obviously going to deform things a bit, but so is the hobby knife. So that's taken care of. This doesn't really, while there are forces that are going to act upon the launch lug here, they're not particularly major. So I'm just going to brush my glue on. I'm not going to do the two layers here. I'm going to attach it though. The most important thing, of course, is to get it centered and straight. So having a look here. That's not straight for the time being, but these are easy enough adjustments to make. All right, looks reasonably good. I'm going to just apply that out of the way. Oh, look, it stuck to my finger. That's fun. That'll happen. And repeat the process for the second one. I'll try. I guess I need to get my finger back a little bit farther this time because a little bit of glue got on it seems. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why this end of the launch lug is so gnarled and chewed up looking. I sanded it a little bit, it helped, but still not great. Oh boy, that's way off. Right. That looks reasonably good. All right, so those are just gonna sit for a bit and dry. Now it is time for the fins. The fins are going to go right at the back. So that's going to be easy enough to line up. But here is a step that I'm kind of wish I would have done this earlier. I'm actually going to use the coupler. And first of all, I'm going to make sure I have the down portion set in the right direction, which I drew an arrow for a reason. Where is that arrow? Here it is. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these together, and I am going to align or check the alignment of the lines, which seems to be pretty good. And I'm going to use this as a template, essentially, to make sure that the fins are lined up with each other. Now, the first set of fins that I've attached are theoretically in alignment at 120 degree angles. But kind of regardless of how accurate I was with them, I want the second set of fins to line up as close to perfectly with the first set as possible. So while I am certainly going to use the lines that I drew, I'm going to use the fins themselves as a reference guide here. Again, I'm going to do the let it dry 2-layer approach because this is an important structural element. It needs to be as strong as possible. Now, what I wish I'd done earlier is I wish that I would have gotten a coupler, put it between the two tubes, and then used that to mark the lines in the first place. Because while it seems that I did a pretty reasonable job lining up the lines, they may not be perfectly aligned, and they'd be a whole lot more accurate if I drew one single set of lines in the first place. I drew 4 lines, I guess, rather than 2 sets of 4, and hoped that I did a good job with the alignment. Not only would it have saved me some time, probably it's going to help with the accuracy as well. All right, now, if there is a danger to doing this, I, of course, don't want this stuff to glue together, and since I'm gluing this to the back end, you can see that as being a potential bit of trouble. That's okay, though. I'm not going to let this sit long enough for the glue to actually bond should I get any past where it ought to be. And since I'm going to be rolling up rather than like rolling back, I shouldn't get much, if any. Ooh, that slid a little bit. I shouldn't be getting much, if any, glue into the joint between the 2 stages. And yeah, this probably didn't have enough lead time to dry, or to start to tack, I should say, because it's kind of slipping around a bit. All right, I'm going to give this plenty of time before I start nudging it. I mean, I obviously did nudge it a bit already, but I mean, that was so wildly out of place that not a lot of choice in the matter. So another like 30 seconds or so, I think, and then we will see how accurate things were between these 2 fins. A little bit of glue, all right, and then check my alignment. So I'm just looking down the barrel and then seeing if the fins are in line with each other, and they appear to be now, or at least they're pretty close. Let me check from the other end too. Looks reasonably good. Okay, let's let that sit for a little bit. I don't want to have a repeat of any of the issues that I had previously with fins falling off because I didn't give them enough time to set up. And that first one, it wasn't as stable as it could be. But anyway, you can have a look down and see how accurate my job is at the moment. I might as well have a look too. Probably could use a little bit of an adjustment. I don't think the roots are really close, but maybe not perfectly in line either. But they're close. Yeah. All right, that seems pretty good. All right, let's start on the next fin then. Same deal as usual. Now, there are a couple of different approaches that you can take when you actually start putting this together and readying it to fly. Now, I'm building this with the intention of having the fins be in complete line with each other. But that's not the only way you can do it. You can have them offset. You can have them offset as much as you like. You could have the second stage and first stage completely offset so that the second stage and the first stage, like they make 6 evenly spaced fins. You could rotate it a bit so that they're close but not exactly lined up. And you can fly it in a variety of different ways. having the fins exactly in line with each other, though, is better for stability. And there's less aerodynamic issues then. So like the lead fin is punching a hole through the air, so there's going to be less. I mean, there is drag, of course, but there should be less of it if the fins are lined up exactly. Plus, it looks nicer. I mean, let's face it, a lot of this is for aesthetics. Okay. I'm going to let this get a little tacky before I start. Flying two-stage rockets is also, it's a bit of a challenge. Setting them up to launch, I mean, I've seen people, inexperienced people, put the wrong motors in the wrong order. They put the second stage motor in the first stage and vice versa. So, yeah, there are lots of things that can go wrong. But it's just a more complicated affair than flying a single stage rocket. So, if you put the motors in the wrong order, remember the first stage motor has 0 delay, so it's going to burn and immediately fire off. The second stage motor, on the other hand, has an extended delay. Estes motors that are designed for either very lightweight or for second stage flight are purple. And for instance, the usual like B motor is a B64. The second stage motor for this would be a B66. So it has an extended burn time before the chute deploys because the rocket's already moving when the second stage fires off. As a result, you want extra time because the delay should theoretically fire off right about when the rocket reaches apogee. I mean, you're not going to get that perfectly for most of the time, but you want it closer to apogee than like when it's still accelerating upwards, or at least decelerating and going upwards. Wow, I'm pretty pleased with that. That is not perfect, but it is awfully close. Have a look. I get a little. Oh, I got some glue on this. I wonder how that happened. Well, it's still wet, so I'm going to try to scrape as much off as I can. I don't know what caused that. I don't think I brushed anything against it. No, well. I'm going to have to sand and prep this anyway. Whoops. Jostled the first stage a little bit. Anyway, yeah, taking a look. Looks pretty good. It's a little tap to the right. Overall, that looks nice. Anyway, so if you put the staging backwards and you put the first stage in the second and vice versa, the first stage then will have a long delay. A delay so long it will probably reach apogee, turn around, and head back to the Earth before the delay goes off. And so you'll have a rocket probably sticking into the ground, and then the second stage goes off, which is, of course, very dangerous because now you've got fire shooting upwards towards people, which is bad. So make sure you get your staging right. Check your staging, as some people might say. Anyway, there we go. The other main challenge of flying a two-stage rocket is it's really a very calm day kind of choice, because as the rocket goes up, if it goes straight up, that's great. It's pointing straight up when the second stage kicks off. But if it starts to curve, then the rocket's no longer pointing straight up when the second stage kicks off, and it tends to go much farther off angle, off course, than you would just under normal circumstances. You know, a typical, if the rocket is weathercocking because of the wind, it might go like this. First, a two-stage, it'll go like this, and then like that. So you could be walking a bit, and much worse would be if your second stage goes off when your rocket is nearly horizontal, and that would be dangerous at best. There's a lot of glue on this particular application here. Way too much. So I'm going to try to smooth some of that off. There we go. All right, again, I want this to definitely set a bit. So far, so good with an attachment, but saying that, it's probably the kiss of death for this one. All right, I think I am ready. All right, the joint. Forward. Tell this is a little bit askew, but let's get the glue tacky first before we worry about that too much. So I'm not really, I'll check the alignment of this, but I'm not going to get too bent out of shape because I very much am concerned more with it being internally aligned than it being completely true to 120-degree offsets. I actually adjusted that pretty well, and that looks pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Okay. Ooh, there's a little bubble there. While I like this glue because it tacks faster, it does tend to, it has a little bit more penchant for making bubbles than some of the other wood glue that I've worked with. Okay. All right, checking the alignment again. Have a look. That looks quite good. I'm going to check all three now just to be sure. I need a little tap this way. Yeah. This one, that looks fantastic. All right, I am very pleased with how things have gone. I am going to take the two apart, and I am going to leave this vertically to dry. The next, well, I need to put fillets on this, but I think I'm going to hold off on that until I install the motor mount. The motor mount I am not going to attempt again until everything here is dry. So that's just going to sit and be patient until the next step. So in the next video, motor mount, I need to attach the launch lugs, and that'll take care of most of the construction. So very exciting. All right, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next step.